Welcome to the Uncle Jim Effect podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Deloach, and welcome to another episode. This is episode number 52, and this episode is going to be a great one. It is called A Season for Everything. Welcome to the podcast. Please subscribe below and leave comments, and we'll sure do everything we can in our power to respond to all of them. We're located on Apple Podcast and Spotify Music. We're growing by leaps and bounds, and we just can't be thankful enough and grateful for those of you who are doing this all the time. And we do not take lightly the opportunity we have here to work together to be able to create an opportunity where we all can determine our own God-given potential and help move this work forward. So without further ado, let's jump into this. So again, it's a season for everything. What does that mean? I've known in my life now, and I've just turned 65. And I know at this stage of the game, I'm a different person than I was. Aren't we glad that we all hope we do? But I'm different now. My thought process is much different than I was 10 or 15 years ago. Definitely than it was 30. Definitely than it was 50. And so sometimes in life, we're so anxious to get to the next step. And only if I had my children that were grown up, then I could be ready to go. Or only if I could have children in the younger stages, or if I could have my business, if I could do these things. So what we're talking about is every stage of life or season, there's a reason for that. And to look always to the next thing or tomorrow, we realize tomorrow never gets here, right? We live on that small blip between the past and the future. And the only time we ever have is this exact moment. We should always learn from the past, prepare for the future, but live 100% in the now, attacking the goals we have for ourselves, family, friends, business, health, all of that, attacking it only in the present. Those of us that have been guilty of saying, I'm going to start this and get this result tomorrow, it never comes. And so that's why so many of us are not really good at living in the now as we learn from the past, prepare for the future. But the only thing that matters is what are we doing now? What actions do we take today that will add up and lead to great things in the future? So that's what we're talking about when we say there's a season for everything. So I'm going to start with this quote by a physician, Rachel Remy. It's a little long and a little involved, but the general underlying theme here is really, really good. So bear with me as we read this. I'm going to stop and talk about it along the way. So, and because it's so long, I'm going to read a little bit of it. But anyway, it's a human life has seasons, much as the earth has seasons, each time with its own particular beauty and power and gift. By focusing on springtime and summer, we have turned the natural process of life into a process of loss rather than a process of celebration and appreciation. Life is neither linear nor stagnant. It is movement from mystery to mystery. Just as a year includes autumn and winter, life includes death, not as an opposite, but as an integral part of the way life is made. So, my interpretation of that whole thing is basically the good and the bad, the preparation and the results, what you sow, what you reap, the daily tasks that lead to the result, all of those things are a natural process and take us from season to season. And so, as we are in specific seasons, and I think seasons in our life are dictated by several things. One, our age or stage of life. Our first 18 to 20 years are meant learning and living with a family, being taken care of, and learning how to be independent. That next 20 years or so, from 20 to 40, and this is according to me, I know there's probably some better breakdowns, but that next 20 years is basically the education and starting a career and hopefully getting married and starting a family and all of that busy work. That next 20 years from 40 to 60 is the development of that and watching kids grow and heading into more of a freedom stage as kids grow and watching them do their thing and getting them along the way and heading into more of a relaxed state as far as business and life goes. You get into a groove, and then that next stage, that 60 to 80 or whatever, is then the stage of reflection or thinking about, your legacy or how can I create value. And so each one of those, generally speaking, is a season that we're in. And within each season, obviously, every day is a life season of its own. But anyway, I've had people reach out and say, I feel like I'm in this season of life, but I'm thinking too much about this one, or the one in the season that was just behind me that I finished. I could have done such a much better job, or I didn't prepare enough, or how do we address that? And so that's the purpose of this. And I want to talk about a couple other quotes here because they lead us down the line of this discussion. But I hope this is resonating with you. Again, the seasons are, what stage of life are we in, and how do we maximize each of those? When you go to the Bible in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, and we're all familiar with this, it says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven. So what does that mean? Everything has a season, right? Whether you're young and need to learn, or whether you have young children and need to raise them, or you're in a business and just starting, or as a grandparent and trying to leave a legacy and to train and to teach, all of those things, and a time to every purpose under heaven. So every purpose we have in life, there is a time for that. And the purpose I have now as a 65-year-old father of 6 and grandfather of 13, soon to be 15, and as a retired dentist, those purposes are so much different than they were 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 years ago. And so the purpose I have now is no more better or worse than those, but there's a time and a purpose for every season. And everything in life, there is a season or a time for it. And we need to maximize the effectiveness of our purpose in that season for what we need to do. As a young person, I had young children and a young business and a wife, and I was trying to learn how to be a husband and a father, and I was trying to learn how to raise children. I was trying to learn how to build a business. And I was trying to learn how to become a good professional, and I was trying to learn how to mix in the community, and I was trying to learn all these things. It's so busy and so much. We're going different directions. That next stage was more on cruise control, where we're developing the business, where we're maintaining our children as they now have friends and are not spending as much time at home. As we start to get under control financially, as I now need to become more involved with my health as I let that slip. And then that next stage, which I'm in now, is that last stage of life, where you're actually looking for a purpose and a legacy. Things are so much more important now. The children are on their own. The grandkids are there and growing. What's the purpose you want to leave? What do you want to be known for? What's the legacy you want to leave your friends? More importantly, your family. What is your purpose for God? Have you reached those type of God-given potential areas of your life? And a lot of self-assessment at this time. Easy to beat yourself up. That's not the point of this. It says a time to every purpose under the heaven. And if you do nothing but learn at this time, like, gosh, I should have done better in these areas, which we all do, great. Don't wallow in self-pity, but then educate others, educate your children and grandchildren, and take those mistakes and or lessons you learn and make sure they don't die with you in the grave. Make sure you educate people, create value for them, and make their life a little bit easier. And then that is fulfilling the purpose. And so I love C.S. Lewis, and he had a quote that says, there are far, far better things ahead than anything we leave behind. And generally speaking, the grass is always greener on the other side. So if we just came out of that season, we always think, oh, the good old days, I remember that. And I wish I could go back to those. But remember, there are far, far better things ahead than anything we ever leave behind. And so, isn't that's good to know sometimes, especially if you're struggling with something, to know that what is in store for you tomorrow is better than what you've had in the past. And if you don't think that's true, then we need to adjust our attitude, even if there's some serious adversities facing you. For example, let's talk about maybe someone who's sick or nearing death or has a terrible diagnosis. Heaven forbid that that's for anybody, but at that point, trying to look at the positive, we know that our time is coming close. And the far, far better thing ahead for us is that at least we have an opportunity to know that that is happening. We can share with our family and friends and actually let them know how much they mean to us. We can try and leave lessons for those that are important to us on what really is important, seeing that we're in that stage of life or dealing with that adversity, and use that adversity to further the life of many, many people, hundreds, thousands, and millions of people, if we do that correctly. And so I'm not saying to keep our head in the sand and all bad things are good. I'm saying that there is a season for everything. And even if we get dealt a harsh winter storm in the season of winter, sometimes we just need to make the most of that and do good things. Anne Frank said this: "What a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives haven't even happened yet." And that's what I'm saying. That the joy I see now as a grandparent or as a proud parent watching my children raise their children and to struggle and do all those great things and to help other people. It's just amazing to me that some the best day. I can't believe every day I see something different and think, wow, this life couldn't get better. And I'm not saying we're without problems, issues, and concerns and struggles and adversities. I'm saying even in the face of all of those, that there are great things to learn and great things to do to serve those that need our service as we get into later seasons in life. Uh, Another great quote I love about this: Robert Louis Stevenson said, "Don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant." And so today might not be a good day as far as results go. And we've talked about this a lot in the past. All we have is this moment. And so if I'm doing good things right now, if I'm planting seeds of encouragement and hope and faith and legacy and training and love, and if I'm planting those seeds now, even though today I didn't get quote unquote any results, uh, if I'm planting seeds, we know the seasons. When you plant them in the spring and you got to go through summer and water them and the sun works, and you harvest them in the fall, we know in the fall there are some big plants. And we go through the death of winter, but in spring it's renewed. And so as long as we're planting seeds now, we know that the fall and the harvest will come. I hope this has been of some value to you. I have been approached about this topic quite a bit, and it's kind of one that it's hard to put a handle on, but I've done my best here to share with you the feelings and thoughts I have. Again, remember, there's a season for everything. Make the most out of today, specifically today in the season you are in. Some of these seasons are so difficult. You see all this white and gray. A lot of that comes from those second and third seasons when you're raising children and starting a business and learning and growing. And you just don't have a clue how much energy it takes until you stop in this season I'm in and look back, and you just marvel at the energy it takes for young people to do all of those things. And you realize, wow, I've earned every one of these gray hairs. So I'm extremely proud of them. So thank you so much for sharing your time with me. I hope this brings value to you. Remember, we're in this together to try and realize our God-given potential. As we do that and we magnify that potential, serving ourselves, family, friends, neighbors, and community, we will create a tsunami of hope that will continue to roll forward, bringing hope to everybody. Everybody needs hope. That's the number one thing we can do. And in so doing, we're going to be a big catalyst to change the world. I know that, I believe it, and I'm seeing it happen. Thank you so much. And until next time, goodbye and God bless.